Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, or good morning if you're watching this at some other time and some other time zone. This is one of TravelMole's pandemic book podcasts, stroke video casts, and I'm delighted today that we've got some good news. We've got a new campaign for one of the UK's leading resorts, Brighton, and the people that have been leading this campaign and doing all the clever design work and thinking are Designate, who are also based in Brighton, and I'm privileged to have Adam Hill and Faye along with us today. Faye led the design team on it, and Adam is the brains behind the organisation. Good afternoon, lady and gentlemen.
Hello.
Hi. Hello, Graham. How are you?
I'm all right, Adam. Thank you.
Faye Carré is the actual.
Faye Carré, sorry, Faye Carré. See, I'm not internationally travelled enough to have the subtlety of that. Faye Carré. That sounds a lot better. It has a better ring to it as well, doesn't it?
It does.
So Faye Carré was the design, and Adam was the brawn, I suppose. Adam, Designate been in Brighton its entire life, hasn't it? And you've taken a lot from the Brighton culture. The very fact that you have someone like Faye Carré working for you is an example of the, if you like, the resource that one can put one's hand to in Brighton.
Well, where better place to run an ad agency than in Brighton, which is one of the most creative cities in the country, and I think that's part of why. I mean, look, normally there's a lot of talk about agencies being in London, which is true. There's an epicenter in London, but Brighton, just such a wonderful place to work from, with so many creative people and such a broad-minded approach to life, which is what I like. Where could I feel comfortable? Here in a great city with a lot of variety and many, many, many interesting people.
And how long has the business actually been established now in Brighton?
From what I can remember, Graham, it started in 1993. And if anyone has been in Brighton in the 1993, you'll understand why there's bits I can't remember.
But that's, in terms of a brand agency, a design agency, that has some longevity, really. I mean, that's 28 years it will be this year. That's a long time.
28 years. And yeah, I mean, amazing. And in that time, we've done an awful lot of travel businesses. We've handled British Airways, Virgin Holidays, a lot of other airlines like Transavia. Do you remember Transavia?
Yes, indeed.
We came out with a campaign for them called Transavia Money, which was always one of my favorites. We've handled a lot of blue chip clients like Bupa International, who were based here, still are based down here at the time. So yeah, it's been fantastic for us, actually.
Good. Well, Faye, you've been the person leading the campaign, or the design team. I'm not sure what you call it really, is the brains and the creative brains behind the campaign for Brighton, which, as we can see from your T-shirt, if we turn upside down, is called Never Normal. What was the brief? What was the approach made to you from Brighton, and what was the brief? What did they want?
Well, Visit Brighton wanted a fully integrated campaign, one that would showcase obviously what's special and unique about the city, not just its kind of tourist attractions, but the spirit of Brighton as well. And it was to work across a number of phases. Phase one was to target locals and get people that lived and worked in Brighton kind of re-energized about the city and get out there and kind of bring it back to life again. And also then the next phase would then look at sort of day trippers, and then the phase after that would be beyond that still. So looking almost at people abroad as well. So it was to work across a number of phases over a period of time. And it needed to also be able to cope with a lot of the changes that were happening and still are happening, with lockdowns and restrictions and an ever kind of changing situation. So it needed to have a good deal of flexibility really, and to enable it to kind of cope, as I say. And I think Visit Brighton also really wanted somebody or a team of people that shared in their passion for the city as well, which we certainly do. So it was a really lovely fit, and we were very excited about the brief, from day one, really.
Excellent. Brighton's always had since railways started coming down from London to Brighton, it's always had a reputation for being broad-minded, open-minded, welcoming. It was always the naughty weekend type destination when that first started. it's developed a lot from that. Was that broadness of thought process, of culture, was that an integral part of the campaign?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I guess it kind of started from us looking at the messaging that had been out there and was out at that time, which was largely negative, really. And we were sort of looking at people's response to that. And people were just really getting consumed and overwhelmed with all this negativity and wanting something positive to kind of come out of it. And we wanted to respond to that. So we wanted a really positive, obviously, message, but we also wanted a message that could be a real truism about the city as well. As you say, bringing out something that is, an absolute truth and something to be celebrated about the city. So the message of Never Normal was turning that negativity on its head and kind of playing with the language of new normal, that is what everybody was hearing, and turn it into something positive, and also turn it into a celebration of the city and something that is a truism and something that everybody can relate to and get behind.
And what are the processes that you go through to get to that stage? I mean, how much interaction do you have? Are there set phases? Is it more scientific that you go through, or do you suddenly come up? You'll have a can of Stella in the car park, and then suddenly come up with the idea Never Normal. I mean, Adam's nodding his head, but I mean, there must be a lot of
local craft beer, of course, Graham.
Of course, local craft beer, Brighton's best. I'm familiar with it. But what was the process that you went through with Visit Brighton to get to that stage?
It's as I say, really. It was somewhere in between the two things that you say there. It was looking at what was going on out there, the messaging that was happening, and then what would our response to that be? And really, I mean, we didn't go through a big process on it. We all got together. It was, working remotely at that time, which we were all getting used to. But really, it was kind of playing with all the messaging that's out there at the moment, and thinking about this whole new normal thing, and then thinking, well, hang on a minute, when was Brighton ever normal? It never was.
Yeah.
It never would be. And that was the big idea. It was as simple as that. So that was at the core of the big idea, really.
And was this something that Brighton immediately said, bloody hell, yeah, we like this? Or have you had to tweak it in any way?
No, I'm really pleased to say, it's very unusual to be able to say this, but it wasn't changed. It was barely changed at all, really. I think Adam, I think you got the response back from them, didn't you? I think they were pretty keen on it straight away, weren't they?
I think there was a number of agencies invited to tender for it, and we presented it. I think you'll know our history, Graham, that we try and find a solution that's different from a lot of other approaches, if you like, and it's about getting under the skin of a destination rather than perhaps the more obvious approaches of, oh look, Brighton's by the sea, well, let's show some pictures of all the lovely things we've got here, which is sea, a beach, a pier, restaurants and bars, which is what a lot of destinations show. But actually what we like to do is get under the skin, and being based here obviously helped us, and having been here so long, but it was a unanimous vote from not only Brighton, it was unanimous amongst all of their partners as well, which was very pleasing to us. And what I like about that is the fact that it isn't that campaign that just shows images of the beach and the pier, etc. It means that we have a very interesting bunch of people running the city as well, as in they could see the difference, because a lot of slightly out there ideas perhaps get turned down, don't they, by the safer people. And also with it, there's an element of rebellion in the Never Normal message, because we were being told to be prepared for the new normal by central government. And I think there's it's quite nice to have a little bit of rebellion, isn't it?
And is that a recurrent theme in your, you say you like to get under the skin, you like to be different. I mean, I know one of your bigger clients with the LV was where you turned a negative into a positive.
Yeah, similar thing. So with LV at the time, 14 years ago, I think we started working with LV, which is lovely that we've had that length of relationship. Everything in insurance industry was, all the advertising was when disaster strikes. So when your car gets crashed, when your house gets broken into, when your cat gets run over, make sure you're prepared. And we went, that's all a bit negative, isn't it? It's all a bit dull. So we turned it to look after what you love in life. And I think that's exactly what we've done here. You know, let's look at the actual atmosphere, and we try and work on atmosphere and emotion rather than hard fact and physicality, if you like. What's the emotion of Brighton? It's full of characters. That's what comes out of the campaigners. When you come here, you will experience it more than physically do it, if that makes sense. So rather than just sitting on a beach, get involved, you know, enjoy it.
Yes. There's an often used expression in travel and tourism, which is a sense of place. And I think in Brighton, you would get a sense of place very quickly. If you're blindfolded, put into the middle of North Lane area, for example, you'd probably know that you were somewhere different without even taking the blindfold off by the sounds, smells, and when you take the blindfold off, then the sights as well. Faye, you said this was there's certain civic pride, I suppose, in the early stages of it. Then for day trippers, which will be the vast majority of people that come to Brighton, but then even though it's born out of COVID, if you like, this would have some legs going forward, perhaps to even, when we're allowed and people are allowed to come back to the UK to overseas. Does never normal translate easily into French or German?
I don't know about direct translation. You would have thought it would, wouldn't you? I think the really lovely thing about the campaign is that although it was kind of conceived as a response to the COVID situation, there's a truism about the campaign which exists, pandemic or no pandemic, and that sort of truth about the city, I think, gives it some longevity, and as you say, gives it breadth as well, because even if you're coming from abroad, I think you would understand that, because it's very simple messaging, isn't it? Even most people, these sorts of messages are often still held in English anyway, aren't they? So it does, there's a simplicity to it and a lovely kind of attitude and tone of voice, which is charming and welcoming, even if you don't live in Brighton yourself and you don't know the city.
It's very good. I must admit, I might be biased, and I know Brighton's only just down the road from where I sit at this very moment, but it does have a certain appeal, and I've been living in Sussex and had Brighton in my mind for the vast majority of my life. During this period and during this fallow period, have either of you had a chance to look at other UK destinations and what they're doing as marketing, if anything, for that? And if so, what do you think of it? This sort of stands out. As you said, it's not a question of showing pictures of white cliffs or sandy beaches or, independent breweries and all those sort of things, because everybody has those. This really stands out. Have you had a chance to look at anybody else's?
We've looked, Graham. Nothing's hit us.
Not a great deal out there.
Nothing's been reaching us. I'm not sure it's where we've had a look through, and doesn't seem. Well, I've not seen anything that's excited me. I don't really want to name people that I've seen that haven't excited me.
No, that's fair enough. But what I'm thinking is that the UK government at the moment is looking at, revitalising UK tourism. Obviously, this year, again, it's likely that domestic tourism and staycations will be high. They've put money into domestic tourism and for rebranding of certain destinations. I just wondered what your opinion was, but I don't. My personal thoughts are that I haven't seen an awful lot. So
something from the Isle of Wight. I think it was a short burst on using AdSmart, I believe, Sky AdSmart, which is an opportunity for people with Sky AdSmart. But politely, I think they've missed an opportunity with how they've promoted themselves, because they have done what I alluded to earlier, which is show what going on a holiday on an island is, which is it's surrounded by water, so therefore it has beaches, it has restaurants, it has pubs, and this is the point. I think we do need to find the point of difference, and I'm struggling to find anything in the UK destination at the moment that has seen that. But I don't know I don't think there's a lot of people also, to all credit to Brighton, I don't think there's a lot of destinations that I'm aware of that have said, how do we keep our current residents happy? How do we encourage them to spend locally and stay locally? How do we encourage visitors, point phase 2, and how do we encourage people from overseas at phase 3? So, that's quite exciting from a starting point that they've been.
Yeah, and it's interesting because, obviously I do a lot of these interviews, not necessarily with branding organisations, but directly with destinations, and local, regional, national, international is the standard format for their marketing in terms of coming back after COVID. And lots of them are spending money on rebranding, but it appears on the face of it pretty much the same as what they've always done. So yeah, that's disappointing given the amount of resources that's going into it. Yeah, go ahead, Faye.
I think there's a sense of being brave about this as well. I think when we came up with the idea, it was like, look, let's go with this. Let's go do it. This is it's got a bit of attitude. It's a bit irreverent and it's bold, but we think this can really work. And I think the fact that there isn't a lot of stuff out there speaks volumes in itself, in that people are a bit nervous at the moment. You don't want to offend anybody. As I say, they needed a campaign that could be changeable and flexible around all the restrictions that are going on. It's quite an unusual time, and really, you don't really know what's going to be happening. So it would, again, credit to Visit Brighton for being bold with it and confident.
Sure, and every destination is not like Brighton, unfortunately, or fortunately.
I think Visit Wales have done some nice work, but I'm trying to think in my head, because this was about coming out of lockdown and now we're back in it. I'm trying to think whether is your question relate to anyone who's done anything in the sliver of opportunity that was there for.
Well, I think my question is related to the fact that that what Brighton were trying to do, which is as I said, local, regional, national, international. That's pretty standard now with vast majority of destinations. The point I'm making is that no one, as far as I can see, and I appreciate that not every destination is like Brighton. Brighton has a population, has an image long established for being open-minded and being broad and being bohemian. Not every destination is like that, so they can't all go for Never Normal. They can't go for something like that. But what destinations did have the chance to do, and I think some of them have missed the opportunity, is to reboot their advertising, to look at that. What are the aspects that you don't see? So, for example, if you're talking about the Isle of Wight, there's all sorts of things, as you know, because I've got a little holiday property there. All sorts of things go on in the Isle of Wight that are not related to the sea and the beaches.
And unfortunately, the Isle of Wight have gone for the generic, make memories, have experiences, and it's
which is a fairly standard approach. But it may reflect the fairly conservative, with a small c, way that life is run in the Isle of Wight and the pressures that the Isle of Wight tourist board are under.
Oh, I totally
they
agree.
would probably be hung from the highest point on the Isle of Wight. If they went with a Never Normal type campaign.
We worked with the Isle of Wight in the past, and this is the point we're making. This is why we really, I think Faye said we put this campaign forward with a view that we feel this is right, and if we don't win it, I'd rather do that than present a client with a blancmange.
Yes,
it's hats off to our people here, because that's exactly it, Graham. The problem is that there's a lot of destinations that are just too nervous, because they will feel like they'll get strung up, don't they? And
quite possibly, yeah.
And then I think it's great. I mean, the other point I wanted to add is that the campaign was also aimed at helping all of our wonderful cafe owners, restaurant owners, many of which we frequent, bar owners, because you can if we did it in mind of you're going to have to shut down again if you do, but then when they open again, they can say we're back to Never Normal, which is nice. So we designed these little flags that they can have outside their bars, outside the restaurants. You can have stickers in the window saying we're back to Never Normal, guys. And this is what it's a ground up campaign, and that's what we like. It's not just from here aiming at everybody right across saying, look, come and visit this and this and this. It's ground up. It's great, and that's when it works really well. It's an absolute attitude, and one that has to be handled carefully, because what we didn't want it to become was, you don't have to be mad to work here, but it works, whatever it is, or but it helps. Those sayings that people have on the wall. You don't have we don't like that. We don't. It's not that sort of campaign. We're not saying we're all crazy here. It's not that approach.
Yeah, I better take that down then. That one.
Yeah, Live, laugh, and love often.
And
All that shit.
there was really lovely language that we developed for it. You know, if you're looking for the new normal, keep looking. And as Adam said, you know, open as unusual. And, you know, it's all that kind of tone of voice that we created that was enabled us to showcase the things that were unusual. So whether it's a bar that has a bit of table theatre, or whether it's, you know, food that's really unusual, or, you know, a tourist attraction like the upside down house or something, or the pavilion light mapping that they had on there a year or so ago. You know, it was a way in order to showcase all that, from the biggest things right down to the smallest things, which was really lovely to be able to give the city a platform. Do you know what I mean? For the smaller independent shops to be able to get involved as well. And then we got a lovely response, didn't we, in off Instagram as well, with people kind of posting all their thoughts about what made Brighton never normal for them, and all their memories and pictures. It was great. You know, it was a real thing that people are getting behind. So that was really lovely to see.
And it's the sort of thing you would buy a t-shirt.
Yeah, what, with never normal on upside down, that sort of thing.
Sideways. Or a nice tote
I
bag.
made especially for myself. They should make them available, shouldn't we?
Should indeed. I think they would go down a storm. Anyway, thank you very much for your time. I know you're busy people. You're probably going off to design some new campaign and give some new ideas, turning negatives into positives. But I wish you well with the remainder of the campaign.
We are. We're working on something right now that is all about brightening up people's lives.
Good. I like to hear it. Thank you very much, Adam. Thank you very much, Faye. Speak to you soon.
Take care. Bye-bye.